You know, your phone has thousands of them. Your computer, well, it just can't work without them. They're literally in almost every single electronic device you own, but chances are you've probably never even noticed one. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this unsung hero of the digital age, the capacitor.
So, think about it for a second. What is the one tiny component that's responsible for taming the wild, chaotic flow of electricity inside all of your gadgets? You know, the one thing that makes them stable and reliable.
And there it is. The answer is the capacitor. Its whole job, its entire reason for being, is to store electric charge. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a tiny, super specialized battery that can charge up and release its energy in a flash.
Okay, so how does this little powerhouse actually pull that off? Well, first, let's just take a look at its anatomy. And I think you're going to be surprised because it's a thing of beautiful simplicity. Get this. It's just two conductive plates, usually some kind of metal, separated by a layer that doesn't conduct electricity. We call that insulator a dielectric. And that's it. I know, right? Simple? But believe me, the real magic is what happens in that tiny little gap between the plates. Now, this ability to store charge, it's got a name, of course. We call it capacitance, and we just use the letter C to represent it. The unit we measure it in is called the farad. Oh, and see that symbol on the slide? The one that looks like two parallel lines? That's the universal sign for a capacitor. If you ever see a circuit diagram, that's the little guy you're going to be looking for. All right, so we know what it's made of. Now let's dive into how these things actually work. And to do that, we really need to understand the tale of two very different types of electrical current. Okay, now don't let the formula scare you off. I promise it's pretty straightforward. It's just Q equals C times V. All this really says is that the amount of charge, that's the Q, that a capacitor can hold depends on its capacitance, the C, and the voltage, or V, that you apply to it. This simple idea really does set the stage for everything that comes next. And this is where it gets really cool. This is the capacitor's secret superpower. When you hook it up to direct current, or DC, you know, like from a battery, the capacitor fills up with charge, and then, bam, it slams the door shut and stops the flow. It basically becomes a wall. But with alternating current, or AC, the kind that comes from your wall socket, the current is always switching back and forth. So the capacitor is just constantly charging and discharging, which means it acts like a swinging gate, just letting the current flow right on through. So let's just nail this down, because this is the crucial point. For DC current, it fills up and it blocks. It's a dead end. But for AC current, it's a superhighway. It just keeps filling and emptying, which means the electricity flows. This dual personality, this is exactly what makes the capacitor so unbelievably useful. Which brings us to the big question. So what? Why does any of this matter? Well, this is where we connect the dots and see why these little components are truly the gatekeepers of all modern electronics. Think of it like this. They have three main superpowers. First, that rapid-fire energy release. A capacitor can soak up energy and then just dump it all at once. That brilliant flash from your camera? Yep, that's a capacitor. Second, they're basically noise-canceling headphones for your electronics. They take the jagged, messy power from the wall and smooth it out, giving your sensitive gadgets the clean, sturdy power they crave. And third, they're like the metronomes of the circuit world, creating these super precise time delays that make sure everything happens in the right order, like a tiny electrical conductor. So when you boil all of that down, the storing, the filtering, the timing, the capacitor's job description, in just one word, is to create stability. It takes the wild, unpredictable world of electricity and it tames it. And here you go, here they are in their natural habitat. You see all those little components on the board? Every single one of them needs a capacitor buddy right nearby to keep things stable. They're the support system for the entire electronic ecosystem. Right now, inside the device you're watching this on, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of these little guardians working tirelessly. So the next time you power on a device, just take a second to think about that invisible world buzzing with activity inside. How many of those tiny, silent gatekeepers are working in perfect harmony right this very second, just to power your world? It's kind of amazing when you think about it.